Hey, what's up guys? How's it going? It's Dakota Richmond here, and today we're going to talk about all of the different places you can get attack stats from. I had somebody ask me this earlier in the comments section, and so I thought I would go ahead and give you kind of like a basis of where to start. So like the first thing you want to do is you want to go to your workshop, and then you want to go down and click on all equipment, go to your filters, and this is where you can pick out the 3 best pieces of gear for certain unit stats. So like if I wanted infantry gear, I'm either going to want a beast helm or a champion visor. Obviously the difference is one's incredibly expensive. A champion visor is like super expensive. And I'm not saying a beast helm's any cheaper really. It's like probably close to about half that. But the thing is, right, is regardless is whether or not you want to look at that certain stat, it'll highlight it for you, and you can actually compare and contrast at different tiers of requirements. And obviously you can look at them and see what they require. Like it's 16 out of 8 for me. I have plenty of ancient blueprints. I have so many that I don't have any need for them. I've already mythiced out my firewall plate, so I just have an abundance of blueprints. But anyway, the point is, that's where you would go if you wanted to check for the stats. Now, the next thing is so in the familiars. Now, I know some people out there have probably not gotten packs 1 through 4 yet, but basically familiars like Engineer, Yeti, and then the little mole shaman guy, you know, like those guys all give attack bonuses. Now, obviously the pay to win familiars, they've got their own bonuses too. I've told you about them in some other videos, but basically they hit the large squads, but that's why they're like $600-700, because what they do is they take your initial attack. So like if it was 800%, then they add tack on however much depending on the tier, you know, so at max like Blackwing would be 600%. You know, and they tack it on. Gem and Gremlin, Trickstar, and Goblin, they're like, you know, every 10% your army falls, they tack on a certain bonus and they continue to add on it. Nosferos, for example, you can get an Cav attack bonus from. Mole Shaman, you can get a bonus from. Pyrus is where you can get some squad attack if you get them through the army talent. Here's Mole Shaman with the infantry attack. Okay, and I'm just giving you all these different things to look for, okay? Because this is all nitty-gritty stuff that, like, if you really want to go through and, like, micromanage the best stats possible for your account, then this is kind of where you want to look. I'm going to just kind of go over all of it, like, literally everywhere. So I'm not even going to stop here with the familiars, I assure you. But, so, like, for example, like, right now, you know, you've got obviously a bunch of different familiars in the game that, yeah, I mean, I could bring up Mega Maggot and the other two can, like, stop squads and stuff like that, but we're focusing primarily on attack here. Obviously, there are army stats and stuff like that debuff, but we're not talking about debuffs here. We're not talking about shields. So I'm going to skip primarily all of that stuff, okay? I'm just looking purely at, you know, okay, can you get army defense and HP? Okay, that's cool, right? These are little bonuses that come with the familiars. Obviously, these are great, but not necessary when it comes to attack. The Frost Blast ability from Frostwing is noteworthy. But yeah, those are primarily like all of the attack bonuses. Make sure to check out Gnome for that range bonus on attack, but again, that's where primarily a lot of that stuff comes from. Obviously, there's an army attack boost. The highest that I know of is 70%. I've got like 8 of them. There's a pack you can get for $5 that'll give you like close to 5 relocators, 30 winged boots at level 2, and then it'll also give you some 70% attack boosts. You can also, as you tier up, if you go into a, like, you know, obviously, you know, when you're looking at, like, castle skins, for example, like, castle skins can also give attack bonuses. So, like, there, for example, I'm getting travel speed with that. But, like, if I got and it upgraded all the way, there's another 10% into 2 stats. Obviously, you can see where, you know, you can get some stats out of that. The buildings themselves also give attack stats. So, like, the manor, for example, will give you army attack. Infirmaries are, like, army HP, if I'm not mistaken. And then your barracks are another building entirely, like they're army defense. But you can see how it stacks. So like a infirm gives you 5, a manor gives you 2, and a barracks will give you 10 as far as defense goes. So they're kind of like split up. They're all even in terms of what you're going to get on the core value, you know, for what they're worth, right? But obviously you can get your 30% bonus if you get a level 60 leader. Imprisoned. Some other things you can do to get more attack stats is you can actually kill them and then you can get an altar boost. Again, most of that stuff only lasts for about a day though, so it's kind of temporary. And then obviously if you're going to imprison a leader, it's dependent on how long can you keep that leader. Some places it's really hard to do that, like in the New Kingdoms, it's just really hard to hold a leader. Obviously heroes are a good place to get bonuses. So like here, all of these heroes apply like 20% army attack when they're in the march. Okay. So like ones that I would recommend for like most people, if you're going to use them anyway, is where like you can get 50% defense and attack. That's okay. But what's ideal is HP and attack. Those are the ones you want because you're going to get 50% HP and 30% attack. That's really ideal for like most free-to-play, small pay-to-play players. Like that's really what you're going to be going for. Now, of course, you guys have probably remember with Dragon Arena that just recently came out, that we also got a new hero called Boomeister. Boomeister gives you passives. Now, this is unique for a hero because as opposed to like every other hero in the game, he's giving passive attack bonuses. So, like, there's at least 10% HP and defense and attack that you can get from getting Boomeister all the way to gold. Obviously, that takes a while. I'm still a long ways away from it. I've only got 2 medals. But I guess, what I'm trying to get at here is that's where a lot of that stuff comes from. And then, of course, research. Now, as you all know, you can get a lot from Sigils research. There's at least 15% there. Then you can get like another 10% for Battle Fury. And again, I will show you some other spots where you can really increase it. But a core of your attack stats are all going to come from research. Like the core minimum for military research is like 135%. And I'll show you here in a bit. But like if you use familiars, for example, you can get another 10% bonus twice. So you can almost get like 20% added just by having familiars in, not counting the other stuff associated to those familiars, with the 50% bonuses and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things. Obviously, it's expensive. Like, I know I talk about it, and you guys are looking at like sigils and familiar battles. Let me tell you, it's not cheap. 177 tomes, guys, is like a $5 bill almost. Okay, just to go up a level. And there's tons of levels there before you can ever get the unlocks. Now, like here, Wonders Battles Research cost me quite a considerable amount as well, but that's some wonder attack bonuses that you can get. Obviously, on the topic, might as well just go down and look at the military command. Now, you can get some attack stats unique to Dark Nests within the military command branch. It's worth mentioning because it's 30%. Now, of course, this is where you can get your initial Battle Fury stats from. And again, this is not something that's cheap. It takes time, and frankly, it's ridiculous how long it takes to go from like 7 to 8. Like to go from 7 to 8, it's like almost 80, 90 plus days for me. And without it, it's like 150 some days. Like it's stupid how much that stuff is. But obviously army leadership is where you start off. You get 10% there, but you can also get 10% in the debuffs. Debuffs, those are some of the most expensive researches in the game. Debuffs are really expensive. Something else, that worth mentioning here is obviously, the 135% minimum, right? And then you also get 135% minimum when you get those up to level 10, okay? Now, all of what I've told you so far, right? This is practically everything as far as, when it comes to actually getting the boosts for attack stats and stuff. Like, this is the prime point at which you've pretty much maxed out everything else. Now, there are a couple of things that you can do to like micromanage. Obviously, like if you go into your talents, you can increase your attack stats by like 5% and then 7%. And then when you go up a little bit higher and you get to like the 20 stacks ones, then you go up to 10. And then if you go all the way to the bottom and you get to the 50, you can go up by 53%. So there's like a considerable jump there. Like you can get a good 70% plus out of the talents alone. Okay. But then to tack on that, right? And of course, I mean, why stop there, right? There's also little things like in the Watchtower, if you get it up to level 25, there's a 10% debuff that you get when you get to 25. Something else that, although is probably worth mentioning, is in the gear. I know I was telling you about it earlier, but you can actually get jewels. So there's like Inf jewels, Range jewels, Cab jewels, and at Legendary they do 20%. Of course, there are different jewels in the game. One jewel in particular is like the Gargantua, the Terror jewels, or the Worm jewels, which are all giving 10% into cav and defense. So it's also worth pointing out that, like, if you're really trying to min-max your stats, that's really where you go. Otherwise, the only other places is with Baron jewels, which you got to get through the Baron, and then also sigils for, like, Tigris Ursa chests. You can get some bonuses there as well. But these are all the different places you can micromanage. But past that point, really, for most players, that's pretty much it. Make sure to check out these other 2 videos, guys.